To bug out or not to bug out? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows. Wait a minute, that's the wrong speech. Welcome to Set Apart Homestead. But that is the question today. What is bugging out? And should you even plan on doing it? Is it worth your time and effort and money? It's a good question. Another YouTube channel sparked the idea, Bug Out Bubba. You can go over and check out his YouTube channel. He puts out some great videos. But it's something that I thought should be talked about because it is something that I have thought about. It seems to me, and I come at this as being kind of a old school preparedness prepper, back before the term prepper really existed. I started back over 25 years ago in Scouts at a scout leader that was a survivalist, and that's kind of how I got into it. And that's what we were called, survivalists. And you know, there's a lot of new catchphrases, new terms, new gadgets, new stuff out there. And one of the big popular things it seems to be right now, especially if you just do a YouTube search, you're going to find in the prepper world is bugging out. Bug out bags, bug out vehicles, bug out location, bug out gear, bug out, bug out, bug out. I've even used the term myself in several videos. But what does that mean? And it, is that should that be your primary focus when it comes to being prepared? Well, honestly, I can't answer that question because it all depends on you, the person, your personal situation. It depends on your location, and it depends on the scenario that would happen as to whether bugging out is the best option for you. Personally, I've always looked at bugging out, meaning leaving your location for some type of period of time. Maybe it's extended, maybe it's permanent. I look at it in my mind as kind of my last-ditch effort when all my other plans have failed, when everything else isn't working out like I wanted it to do, and things become dangerous where I live. It becomes too dangerous, too difficult where I live, then I would look at bugging out. It doesn't mean that that's not part of my plans. It's just not, for me, a primary plan. And it will be different for everyone, like I said. For instance, because of where I live, as you can see behind me, and I'm many miles from any type of city, and it's a small cities at that, this is what most people would look at as a bug out location, where I live. So there's going to be less reasons for me to leave this place and bug out to another place that would be pretty much similar to this. So that's, for me personally. It doesn't mean that I don't think about it and that I don't prepare for that if that scenario was to happen and I had to enact that plan. It just means that for me it's not as high a priority. So what does it mean for you? And is it something that you should put your effort into? One thing that I would caution is that, and I'll probably do another video specifically on this subject, is that with the increased popularity of preparedness, even the government, it's on TV, there's different agencies and organizations that are even talking about preparedness. That you should have a 72-hour bag and that you should have so many weeks of food supply. It's becoming more of a social norm as it was 25, 30 years ago when if you did it, you were kind of a freak. So because of that, there's also built up around it an industry of preparedness. And so there are lots of gadgets and little gewgaws. There's a word for you non-Southern, non-old-fashioned people. It means little useless trinkets. There's a lot of those things that have come out on the market. And it's also this push to be ultra super cool tactical. And I'm not putting that down, that it's wrong to do that or it's bad to do that. It's not that. It's that there seems to be more of a focus on the gear that you have, how cool the gear is, what little gadgets you have, than actually your plan and things that you probably really need. I don't know if that's coming across exactly the best way, because I'm not putting people down at all. I don't, if you're highly focused on bugging out and have plans for that, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't let that be your only thing that you're planning for. Bugging in, for many people, might be the best scenario. And of course, it all depends on your location. It depends on the person, and it depends on the event that happens that causes SHTF. You know, if you're of poor health, elderly, maybe have lots of small children, bugging out may not be the best option for you. If you live already out in the country in the woods, it may not be something that you're going to primarily do. But yet if you live, say, in a very urbanized area where water supply is going to dry up soon, where diseases are going to be more prolific, where just social unrest is going to become much more of a danger because of the higher populations, then bugging out obviously might be something that you need to focus on. Me personally, when I talk to people about preparedness, I think having where you're at right now, fortify your location as best as you can. Now, again, like I just said, you're going to need to sit there and think, is this a location that can be fortified? Is this a location that I can have food stored, have water stored, that I could survive for an extended period of time, regardless of what happens? You know, if it's a hurricane, an earthquake, massive, tornadoes, massive flooding, different things like that, or if it was some type of apocalyptic scenario. Is where you live a place that you can even do that? If it's not, then sure, bugging out is definitely something that you should start focusing on, and focusing on, what type of things that you need, how you're going to bug out. Are you going to bug out on foot? Are you going to bug out in a vehicle, bicycle, whatever it is? And of course, this scenario could change what that is. If it's an EMP and your vehicle is fried, then obviously that's not going to be a viable option. If it's flooding, maybe on foot is not going to be a viable option. So you have to think of that. My worry is, and I say that the whole point of this is to try to get many of you to think and to evaluate what your plans and goals are. It's something that I try to do on a regular basis, because even though I've been doing this for many years, I don't feel that I'm like this expert on the subject. I may have a lot of knowledge and experience, but it doesn't make me, the all-knowing, all-powerful wizard of preparedness. So I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly reevaluating where I stand and what my plans are. And I just want to caution people that I get this feeling, and I may be wrong, I may be completely off base on this, but I get this feeling from just what I see online that bugging out has become this cool thing to do, or this cool thing to plan for, having this really cool tactical backpack and tactical gear and the cool little gadgets and the high-tech gadgets and the newest, latest, greatest, stove and water container and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that those things won't work. Some of them are great things. Some of them, they're just kind of junk, I think. I've tried a few of these new things, and they're just junk. Most of the gear that I have and use, a lot of it's old stuff. Old military surplus, or just old-fashioned things that people used before we had all the technology that we have. And I found that most of those things tend to work better. They last longer. They may not be as cool. They may not be as ergonomic. But I find that the quality is there, whereas a lot of the new stuff, there isn't. So don't allow yourself to be caught up just in the hype and the coolness of gear and the coolness of doing this bug out. Because the reality is bugging out is going to be extremely dangerous for you. In most scenarios, I believe that staying where you are, you're probably going to be the safest. Now, if it's long-term and you don't have food supplies or water supplies, then of course that's going to be a danger. It's much easier for most people. I know there's going to be, ones that say, well, that's not true for me, or that's not true for this reason. I'm saying in general, it is easier to protect yourself in your home that you know of, that you're familiar with, and that you have planned and have things in your home. It's easier to protect yourself there then it's going to be out in the open on the open road. You're also opening yourself up to much more injury. If you're a lone wolf, that's probably an advantage that you might have, being a lone wolf, because you only have to take care of yourself. But if you're in a family, husband and wife, maybe you have kids, maybe there's others, bugging out's going to become, problematic, and it's going to, take a lot more planning for it and a lot more things to make it safe for you and make it possibly successful. So it's, today's video isn't really necessarily teaching you anything specifically. It's like many of them. It's trying to get you to think and question and reevaluate maybe what you have. Maybe you don't have a bug out plan because you just cannot imagine a way that you could do it successfully. And I understand that. You should still probably have at least like a 72-hour go bag. For nothing else that, if there was some type of bad weather that caused you to have to leave your home. Power was out for an extended time and you just, or, the roof blows off of your house because of a tornado. Things like that. You may actually have to leave. Hurricane. Look at hurricane victims in hurricane areas where they have to leave because of the hurricane coming in. And you see these people, long lines of traffic for hours and even days. It would probably be beneficial if those people had some type of little go bag to kind of get them through that. Then on the other hand, there's people that is their only focus. And they don't do a whole lot of, preparing with food supplies, fortifying the position that you're in now, fortifying your home, making it a viable, successful option of just staying put, of bugging in. You have food supplies, medical supplies, water supplies. You have your blankets, your heat, all that right there in your home where you can keep it there. Because if you bug out, there's a good chance that all those supplies that you left are going to be gone. So it better be a truly necessary thing for you to do for your survival, to bug out. Because, and I'm not saying I'm right, but in my mind, bugging out is something that I'm going to have to do when all else has failed. It's kind of a latch-ditch effort. And of course that's true for me because of where I live, but maybe because of where you live it's different, or because of your, medical condition or your age, or because of the, members in your family. It could be different than that. But I caution people that make bugging out their primary and really only plan. Be careful not to get caught up. It's snowing on me, getting in my beard and mouth. I caution those that make it their only plan and that they put all their effort and money into just bugging out, into just the gear of bugging out. Because, if that is your only plan, you've got a lot of struggle ahead of you if you have to do that. If something happens and you have to enact that plan, the dangers are greatly increased. And it doesn't even have to be an apocalyptic scenario that would mean it being dangerous for you. Even just, hurricanes and floods and snowstorms, blizzards, things like that. If you're out there on your own in the wild, it's just natural to think that, your risk is greatly increased because of that. Whereas staying home, if the scenario really allows it, might just be the best option for you. It also, brings me to a point of, if you find yourself living in a location that you feel that it's just way too risky and dangerous to bug in, really start thinking and evaluating and looking at the possibilities of moving. I know that's not for everyone. And I don't want to get this holier than thou type of, or come across as a holier than thou mentality, that because, I live in the woods, then I'm better off than you. That's not it. If where you live is just, when you start to think about it, it's like, man, I'm really, vulnerable where I live. If it is possible for you to move, I would suggest doing that. I mean, sure, the alternative is to have a location to go to, but getting to that location, depending on the scenario, might be very difficult and risky. And if you're able to live at your bug out location and have all your supplies there, you might have increased odds of survival. I get it that the other, the opposite side of the coin is that because you have all your stuff in one location, then there's the risk of people coming and trying to take it. Yep, I get that. You have to make plans for that. You have to, not broadcast and advertise that, hey, look at all this food and cool stuff that I have. So I see that side of it. It's just that, you need to really kind of evaluate your plan. If bugging out is your only plan, evaluate your plan if you don't have a bug out plan. I like to have contingencies, backups for my backups. And while I've said, bugging out isn't necessarily the primary thing that we would do here because of our location, there's only a few scenarios that I could come up with that would probably mean we need to leave here. Very few. Most scenarios, we would be much better off just staying here. So, but there is a plan there in place. But it also means that I'm not putting most of my focus and most of my money into that plan. Sure, I've got things for bugging out, but I'm not going out and spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on those things that work in that plan. And I see people, man, I saw something the other day, excuse me, I saw something the other day, like a complete bug out bag, and this thing looked like it come off of a, like you see the runway models with all their, weird looking clothing designs and stuff. That's kind of what it looked like. And this thing, it was total complete package, and it was, $2,000 or $3,000 or something for this bug out bag that had supposedly everything you needed in it. And I thought, my goodness, $2,000 or $3,000? Man, I could put you together probably a really good bug out bag for less than $100 by just doing smart shopping, things that I have already, and going to like flea markets and yard sales. So be careful where you're spending your money on. Now, there may be people watching this video that just have really deep pockets, and $2,000 or $3,000 for a bug out bag is nothing to them. I'm certainly not one feeling that majority of the people watching this are not those types of people also. So be careful where you spend your money, because if your best plan is to bug in, but yet you're spending all your time and effort on a bug out plan, then you're creating a vulnerability for yourself. So don't get so caught up on things that are hype. It doesn't mean that bugging out isn't good. It doesn't mean that some of the gear that's come out isn't good. Just be cautious of the hype. The more and more preparedness becomes popular, the more and more of the used car salesmen that are out there trying to push their really cool tactical ultra high-speed gear. And I'll do probably another video just on that subject. Alright, that's about all I have today. I apologize for this camera. I have, it seems to still be messing up while I'm videotaping. It like freezes and then the audio gets off. Right now it's all I have. And I have done everything, got online, looked to see if there's patches. I've, uploaded, downloaded, wiped it clean, and started all over, and it's still doing it. And from what I've read, this is just a common problem with this kind of phone. As soon as I'm able to, I'll be getting something different, and I really apologize. I know it's annoying when you're watching it and it freezes and now the audio's off. So it is something that I'm trying to rectify. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.